There is a silent moment before every important action. Nothing is wrong yet, but you don't move. You're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. Your brain is simply resisting discomfort. The samurai understood this. They didn't wait to feel ready. They moved first, and silence followed. And once you learn this rule, procrastination loses its power. Have you ever noticed something unsettling about procrastination? It doesn't feel like laziness. It feels like resistance. You sit down knowing exactly what needs to be done. The task is clear, the time is available. The consequences of delaying are obvious, and yet something inside you refuses to move. Your body feels heavy. Your mind looks for distractions. You tell yourself you will start in a few minutes. Those minutes turn into hours. Hours turn into days. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to doubt yourself. This is where most people misunderstand procrastination. They think it is a problem of time management, motivation, or discipline. The samurai knew it was none of these. To them, procrastination was a psychological survival response. Modern neuroscience now confirms what ancient warriors understood intuitively. Procrastination is not about avoiding work. It is about avoiding discomfort. Your brain is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you safe. Anything that feels uncertain, effortful, slow to reward, or emotionally uncomfortable is registered by the brain as a threat. Not a physical threat, but a psychological one. And when the brain senses threat, it activates resistance. This is why the moment you try to start something important, your mind suddenly becomes creative in all the wrong ways. You remember messages you need to check. You feel the urge to clean something irrelevant. You think about food, videos, news, anything except the task. This is not coincidence. It is defense. The samurai described this state as a divided mind, a mind split between intention and action. And here's the truth most people never hear. You cannot defeat procrastination by fighting it directly. The harder you try to force yourself, the stronger the resistance becomes. This is why motivation fades, productivity systems fail, and willpower collapses under pressure. The samurai never relied on motivation. They relied on structure. They followed a rule so simple it feels almost insulting, yet so powerful it reshapes the nervous system itself. Procrastination is not caused by the task itself. It is caused by how the task is framed in your mind. When your brain sees a task as too big, too undefined, or too connected to your identity, it triggers avoidance. The samurai removed this trigger entirely. They trained themselves to act without emotional negotiation. No inner debate, no mental buildup, no waiting to feel ready. In ancient Japan, young warriors were taught that hesitation is more dangerous than fear. Fear sharpens focus. Hesitation fractures it. So they adopted a principle that governed everything they did, from combat to daily rituals. They called it ichigyozamai, one action, full presence. But not in the way modern self-help describes it. This rule did not mean focus harder. It meant reduce the action until resistance disappears. The samurai understood that the brain resists starting, not doing. Once action begins, resistance collapses. Instead of asking if they could do something, they asked what the smallest physical action was that would initiate movement. Not the whole task, not the outcome, not the responsibility, just the first undeniable motion. For a swordmaster, it was not winning the duel, it was placing the feet. For a calligrapher, it was not writing beautifully, it was touching the brush to the paper. This is the psychological kill switch for procrastination, because the brain can argue with goals, plans, pressure, and expectations, but it cannot argue with movement already in progress. The moment the task is reduced to a single concrete motion, the brain stands down. No threat detected, no emotional spike, no resistance. And once movement begins, momentum takes over. This is why the samurai rule destroys procrastination at its root. It bypasses motivation, emotion, and identity. It speaks directly to the nervous system. Most modern advice about productivity unintentionally makes procrastination worse. It tells you to visualize big goals, to think about long-term rewards, to imagine how good it will feel when everything is finished. But for the brain, this is a mistake. When you visualize a large outcome, you increase the emotional weight of the task. The brain does not feel inspired by magnitude. It feels threatened by it. The larger the imagined result, the heavier the pressure becomes. And pressure is the fastest way to activate avoidance. This is why you can feel motivated in the morning and paralyzed by the afternoon. Motivation raises expectations. Expectations raise emotional stakes. Emotional stakes trigger resistance. The samurai understood this cycle centuries ago, and they broke it in a counterintuitive way. They deliberately removed the future from their mind, not because the future was unimportant, but because thinking about it too early poisoned action. A warrior preparing for battle was never taught to think about victory. He was taught to think about posture, breath, and the first step forward. The outcome did not belong to him. The action did. This distinction is critical if you want to destroy procrastination at its psychological root. Procrastination feeds on imagined futures. It grows stronger the more you think about consequences, judgments, success, or failure. The samurai rule works because it collapses time. It brings the mind entirely into the present physical moment. When there is only one action, there is no space for fear to grow. Another truth most people avoid is that procrastination is often a form of self-protection. Deep down, the mind fears what action might reveal. If you start, you might discover that you are slower than expected, less skilled than imagined, or not as prepared as you hoped. Avoidance protects the image you have of yourself. The samurai did not attach identity to performance. A strike was not a reflection of worth. A mistake was not a verdict on character. It was information. This is another reason their rule is so powerful. When you reduce action to a single step, you remove identity from the equation. You are no longer someone trying to succeed. You are simply someone moving a hand, opening a document, standing up, writing one line. Identity dissolves, resistance weakens. There is also a physiological component that modern life amplifies. Your nervous system is constantly overstimulated. Notifications, screens, noise, urgency, comparison. This keeps your brain in a semi-alert state, making it hypersensitive to discomfort. In this state, even small tasks feel heavy. The samurai trained under conditions of silence and repetition. Their routines were intentionally boring, and this boredom was not accidental. Repetition teaches the nervous system that action is safe, predictable, non-threatening. This is why the samurai rule insists on ritual. Same time, same place, same first movement. When the body recognizes the pattern, it does not resist, it obeys. Procrastination thrives in ambiguity. Ritual destroys ambiguity. You do not ask yourself if you feel like starting. You do not negotiate. You perform the first motion because that is what you do at that hour. This is not discipline in the modern sense. It is conditioning. Over time, your brain stops associating action with danger. The task becomes neutral, and neutrality is freedom. Another hidden cause of procrastination is emotional backlog. Unprocessed stress, frustration, disappointment. These emotions do not disappear. They attach themselves to future tasks. When you try to start something important, all that unresolved weight surfaces at once. The samurai addressed this through breath and posture. Before action, they regulated the body. A slow exhale, a grounded stance. They understood that the body leads the mind. If the body is calm, the mind follows. This is why the samurai rule always begins with the physical. Not thoughts, not affirmations. Movement, breath, position. You cannot think your way out of procrastination. You must move your way out. Even a single physical action sends a signal to the brain. We are not in danger. We are already acting. And once that signal is sent, the internal noise quiets. In the next part, you will learn how this rule can be applied in modern life, even in chaos, fatigue, and emotional overload, and why waiting to feel ready is one of the most damaging habits you can form. One of the most damaging lies modern culture teaches is that you must feel ready before you act. We are told to wait for clarity, confidence, motivation, or the right emotional state. But readiness is not a prerequisite for action. It is a result of action. The samurai never waited to feel ready. Readiness emerged through movement. If they had waited for fear to disappear, they would never have drawn the sword. Fear was expected. Resistance was expected. What mattered was whether the body moved despite it. This is where procrastination becomes deeply tied to emotion. When you wait to feel ready, you give your emotions authority over your behavior. And emotions are unstable, reactive, and shaped by circumstances you cannot control. The samurai refused to give emotions command. They trained behavior first, knowing the mind would follow. This is why the samurai rule is so effective in modern life. It works even when you are tired, anxious, overwhelmed, or uninspired. Because it does not require you to feel anything in particular. It only requires a single physical commitment. Stand up, open the file, write one sentence, set the timer. That is all. The mind will protest, but the body is already moved. And once the body moves, the mind begins to align. This is not philosophy, it is biology. Action triggers dopamine in small, controlled doses. Not the cheap dopamine of distraction, but the stabilizing dopamine of progress. This chemical shift changes how the brain evaluates effort. What felt heavy begins to feel manageable. What felt impossible becomes ordinary. Another reason procrastination feels so powerful today is because modern tasks are abstract. A samurai could see the blade, feel its weight, hear the breath. Your work lives in screens, ideas, and invisible outcomes. The brain struggles with abstraction. It prefers the concrete. The samurai rule solves this by forcing you to make work physical. Writing becomes placing fingers on keys. Studying becomes opening a book and reading one paragraph. Planning becomes drawing one line. When you translate abstract goals into physical motion, the brain stops resisting. It understands what is happening. There is also an important psychological shift that occurs when you apply this rule consistently. You stop identifying as someone who procrastinates, not because you repeat affirmations, but because your behavior changes. Identity follows action, not the other way around. Each time you initiate movement without negotiation, you send evidence to yourself. I act even when I don't feel like it. This evidence compounds. Over time, the internal narrative changes. You no longer ask, "Will I procrastinate?" You ask, "What is the first move?" This shift is subtle but life-altering. The samurai trained this rule in all areas of life, not just in battle. They applied it to waking up, cleaning weapons, practicing forms, and maintaining discipline in silence. There was no separation between important tasks and mundane ones. Everything was training. This is another modern mistake. We treat discipline as something reserved for big goals. The samurai treated it as a way of living. When you apply the rule only to work but not to daily life, resistance remains strong. When you apply it everywhere, resistance weakens globally. Making your bed, washing your hands, organizing your space with presence may seem insignificant, but it trains the same neural pathways as starting a difficult project. The brain learns that action is normal, not dramatic, not emotional, normal. Procrastination cannot survive in a system where action is routine and unremarkable. Another key element is removing the internal countdown. Many people sabotage themselves by creating artificial deadlines in their head. I'll start in 5 minutes. After one more video. Once I feel calmer. This countdown keeps the brain in anticipation, which increases tension. The samurai rule eliminates countdowns. You do not delay the first action. You perform it immediately, without ceremony. The moment you notice hesitation, that is the signal to move. Not later, now. This trains decisiveness, and decisiveness is the enemy of procrastination. In the next part, you will learn how to integrate this rule into a modern routine without burning out, how to prevent relapse, and how to build a system where procrastination no longer has space to return. The final mistake that keeps procrastination alive is believing that once you defeat it, it disappears forever. The samurai never thought this way. They understood that resistance is not an enemy you kill once, but a force you learn to live above. Procrastination returns when structure collapses, when rituals break, and when action is replaced by emotion. This is why the samurai rule was not a trick. It was a system, a way of organizing life so that hesitation had no place to grow. The rule worked because it was applied before resistance appeared, not after. Modern people wait until they feel stuck, overwhelmed, or guilty, and then try to fix the problem. The samurai prevented the problem from forming in the first place. They did this by anchoring their days to initiation rituals. The same first action, at the same time in the same environment. Not because they loved routine, but because routine removes choice, and choice is where procrastination lives. When you eliminate the daily decision of whether to start, you eliminate the internal battle entirely. You no longer ask yourself if today is the day. You simply move. Another essential element is stopping at the right moment. This sounds strange, but it is critical. The samurai never trained until exhaustion. They stopped while energy was still available. This preserved respect for action. When you always push until burnout, your nervous system begins to associate work with pain. That association fuels future resistance. Ending sessions early teaches the brain that action is safe and finite. It makes starting tomorrow easier. This single adjustment can dismantle years of procrastination patterns. There is also the discipline of containment. The samurai did not multitask. One action meant one action. When the session ended, it ended. No mental carryover. Modern procrastination is often caused by mental clutter, dozens of half-open loops in the mind. The samurai closed loops deliberately. They knew that an unfinished mind cannot rest, and a restless mind avoids action. By defining clear beginnings and endings, they kept the psyche clean. The modern version of this rule is simple. Decide in advance when you stop. Not when you feel tired. Not when something interrupts you. When the II session is complete, you stop. This creates trust between you and your own mind. Another reason procrastination returns is self-punishment. People criticize themselves for delaying, using guilt as motivation. The samurai never used shame as fuel. Shame fractures will. Instead, they treated failure as feedback. If resistance appeared, it meant the action was too large, the ritual too loose, or the body too dysregulated. They adjusted the system, not their self-worth. This is a crucial, psychological shift. When you stop making procrastination a personal failure, it loses emotional charge. Without emotion, it has no power. The final integration of the samurai rule is this. Your life becomes a sequence of initiations, not a series of emotional decisions. You stop waiting for alignment and start creating it through movement. Each day becomes lighter, not because tasks disappear, but because resistance no longer dominates your mind. You act before thought gains momentum. You move before fear has time to speak. This is the quiet strength the samurai cultivated. Not aggression, not intensity. Calm decisiveness. Over time, this changes how you see yourself. You are no longer someone who struggles to start. You are someone who begins. And that identity, built through action, makes procrastination irrelevant. The rule does not promise ease. It promises clarity. And clarity, applied daily, is stronger than any burst of motivation.